Good afternoon, everyone. This is Golden Libra Fashion Co. Situated at number 2 Ifelaja Crescent, Akera, Alakuko, Lagos. I'm here to talk about the basic measurement of the female body. This is the measurement of the length and circumference of the female body that consists of the upper part and the down part. What do we mean by upper part? Upper part simply means the blouse, or we can also call it our top. What are the measurements? What are the necessary measurements to be taken in the upper part? We have our back measurement, we have the bust measurement, we have the bust point, we have under bust. On the under bust measurement, on the under bust point, we are measuring two measurements, which is the under bust length and the under bust round. We also have our waist, then we have the blouse length or the top length. The last but not the least is the sleeve. On the sleeve measurement, we measure our sleeve length, round sleeve, and the tip. That's that about the upper part. Then the down part. What do we mean by the down part? The down part is simply the skirt. The skirt. We only have 3 measurements to measure on that. We have our skirt waist, skirt hip, and skirt length. That's that about the skirt. Then let me go back to the top, to the blouse. We are talking about back measurement. How do we measure our back? We measure the measurement of the difference between the shoulder to shoulder. That's how we measure it. We measure from this point to this other point. That's what we call the back measurement. That's the measurement. Then we also have our bust. How do we measure our bust? We measure our round bust. Round bust. This is the circumference of the bust. That's that about the bust. Then we have the bust point. This is the difference between the highest point of the shoulder to the bust point. The difference between the highest point of the shoulder to the bust point. That's what we mean by the bust point. That's the measurement we are going to take. We measure from the highest point of the shoulder to the bust point. We also have our under bust. What is the under bust? How do we measure the under bust? We measure from the highest point of the shoulder to the under bust. That is the length measurement. We also have round measurement on the under bust, which is we measure the circumference of the under bust. We measure it round. That's what we call under bust round. We have our waist. How do we get our waist? From experience, we originated it to be 3 inches difference from the under bust length to the waist length. We have 3 inches difference. So we measure 3 inches from the under bust to the waist line. Then how do we measure our waist? We measure it. We measure the circumference of the waist. The circumference of the waist. Then we are talking about the top length. The top length we measure from the highest point of the shoulder to the upper hip line. That's how we measure our top length. We also have our sleeve. How do we measure our sleeve? From the highest point of the shoulder to the desired length. We also have that's for the length. We also have the round sleeve. The round sleeve will measure the circumference of the sleeve. We also have what we call tip. Tip, what is tip? That's the tip, the round measurement, the circumference measurement of the tip. To say we are measuring from the highest point of the shoulder to the desired length. If you want it 3/4, you want it full length, you also want it half, anywhere you want it, that's where you measure the tip. That's what we call tip. That's that about the upper part. We will measure 7 major points in the upper part. So we also have the skirt. How do we measure the skirt? We measure the round skirt waist. We measure from the navel. We measure the skirt waist from the navel. Then we have our skirt hip. How do we measure our skirt hip? This is the circumference of the hip. We measure the circumference, we measure our hip, we measure it round. That's what we call skirt hip, and that's how we used to measure it. We measure it round, circumference of the hip. The last but not the least is the skirt length. We measure directly from the navel down by the side to the floor.